This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Place to Be Nation, Pop Experience. Welcome back to another episode of Pop Goes Degrassi, where tonight we are covering Degrassi Next Generation Season 2, Episode 11, Don't Believe the Hype. But before we deep dive into our one episode here, because, well, we have a very important two-parter episode coming up next, and this one just felt like a filler episode into where we're going into, because on our last episode we had Take My Breath Away, and that was the first time we got Manny and Craig going out on a date that ended disastrous. And this episode, it deals with racism and how people were being treated in the United States when everybody should have been coming together, even though it happens in Canada. It kind of reflects on what was going on in the United States and all around the North American countries as well. But before we deep dive into the episode, let me bring in my co-host here, John Kesselika. John, how are you doing tonight?
Grooney, I'm doing great here. All decked out, got the Pop Goes Degrassi hooded sweatshirt ready to go, so that we can really feel the vibe of the Panther pride here, moving back into Multicultural Day at Degrassi for our first time.
Yeah, John, this episode is heavily critiqued, mostly because it doesn't go anywhere. Like with the character that was really shining out during this episode, it goes nowhere, really. That's what a lot of the reviews for this episode were pointing to.
Yeah, I think I came into this episode and my memories of it being of that same level of, this doesn't have any real impact on the series as a whole. But watching it back, I really, really enjoyed this episode a lot. And I enjoyed the performances in it. I enjoyed the storylines, especially. I think they showed like a real maturity and nuance that's not seen in some of the others that we've seen before. And maybe some of that disappointment and that negative response to this episode comes from the fact that it shows a bit of what this series could have explored more or been more about. And it's disappointing that we never really, that Degrassi, for all its good points and all its, it goes there, ideas and its fearlessness in tackling serious subjects, that they never really, over the course of the Next Generation, I would say, seem to get race really right with their treatment of characters.
Yeah, not really, but there's going to be more episodes about this as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So let's deep dive into this episode. This is Degrassi Next Generation Season 2, episode 11, Don't Believe the Hype. Terry and Hazel are discussing International Day when Paige comes in and starts giving out fashion crime tickets. Hazel spots a Muslim girl, and Terry asks if they are bald under their scarves, or what are they called again, John?
Hijab. That's a hijab, sir.
Hijab, yes, the hijabs. And Ashley's like, really, Terry? So, like, Terry over here with a weird line, trying to really be like Paige's sidekick here.
Right, and in this opening, we are kind of setting that scene of the ongoing discourse at the time and the kind of misunderstanding of Muslim faith or in any of those aspects. And that would be really common in, maybe in 8th grade, 9th grade students here, of something that can, stand out so much, like wearing a hijab in school. And, with the kind of Islamophobia that was present in North America at the time, this is really really indicative of that. And it's in the fact that it's coming so kind of I don't know, I guess effortlessly from some characters that we've been positioned to really really like and really sympathize with is harsh at first to hear it from Terry, and that even Paige, as Paige points out, hey, if I'm offended by what you said, you've probably crossed the line. So just to that point, showing a little maturity in Paige that we've seen over this last series of episodes really coming into play, but very much reminiscent of that time in our country and in Canada as well.
Mm-hmm. So then Hazel goes over to the Muslim girl and gives her a ticket, and the Muslim girl's like, "Oh, this is just a joke, haha." And then Hazel calls her a terrorist sheep. And this is where Paige says, if I'm offended, you went too far. So, like you said, Paige is like, whoa, where did this come from? Like, Little Miss Hazel, the old quiet girl, we've had more from Terry than we have of Hazel, is really impacting the episode here already.
Yeah, and obviously this becomes really Hazel's episode, and in the beginning we're getting to see kind of her step away from what we've seen her before of being kind of Paige's sidekick, even thrown under the bus in the cheerleading the cheerleading episode, blaming her for the tearing down the flyers. That she is somebody who is thinking for herself and whatnot, but at the same time is there's something behind this kind of aggression that she is portraying and putting forth towards the Muslim student.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Simpson reminds the ninth graders about International Day. Hazel asks, what if they don't participate? Simpson says 10% of their grade is class participation, so it's a requirement because it involves participation. Paige questions Hazel on if she started the project, and Hazel shrugs. Paige also questions her. Paige actually questions her friendship with Hazel as well. Yeah,
it's revealed in this moment here that Paige really doesn't know that much about Hazel. As she says, "Hey, what are you afraid of in portraying in bringing in your heritage?" Paige is going full Ukrainian as she indicates, and she's going to make some tweaks to the outfit. But at the same time, she's confused as to, I've never even been to your house. I don't know really that much about you. I thought we were best friends. So you can, we're seeing that maybe there's, this bit of Hazel that even her closest friends don't know just yet. Mm-hmm. And that she's maybe felt for some reason ashamed of.
Yeah, she's always been like the quiet one and just like Paige's lackey here. Like, we know where Terry comes from, a widowed father who doesn't have a lot of money because Terry takes a job as modeling and is getting more money, and Terry is not comfortable with her body because she's plus size, as we figured out with her taking the modeling job. Mm-hmm. In a mirror in the bathroom, yeah. So we're in sewing class now as the 8th graders are in here. It's JT and Liberty. They are getting ready to show their projects. JT's pillow is perfect, but Sean and Toby kind of make fun of him. So he switches pillows with Liberty, who has a mess of a job here. The teacher then says, "Oh, Liberty, you did such a perfect job with this pillow." And then JT gets ragged on by the teacher for handing in Liberty's work.
Yeah, I appreciated the teacher's comment of you might want to, enter into geometry class so that you can learn what a square looks like, JT. We're entering into our B plot here, and as is not often the case, I think our B plot really really pairs well with the main plot of International Day, as both are these kind of discussions of identity and talents or backgrounds that students might feel somewhat ashamed of embracing or are in denial about. And so getting this with JT excelling in home economics or sewing class, as it would be here, is that first introduction. Is going to be able to give us kind of two takes on the same subject here. I really again, this was another pleasant surprise in revisiting this episode, as we're starting to see JT not so much as the one-dimensional class clown, but having some depth of character as well. So this is going to be a really fun part of the episode to discuss as well. Grunic, going back to your own schooling, what was your home ec requirements in either high school or middle school? Did you guys have any such courses in sewing or cooking or anything that were required over in Connecticut?
Yes, we had both. Both were available under like the home economics list, or like as we like to say, like growth and personal growth as well. You had sewing as an elective, and you also had foods and nutrition, as they like to say, not just label it cooking 1 and 2. So I took those sophomore and junior year. I should have taken foods number 2 in senior year and taken foods 1 junior year, but I backfired it, so I couldn't take their class over again. There was no foods and nutrition 3.
Oh wow, they topped out after 2, huh? Yeah, I think in our 7th grade home ec class we did a lot of simple cooking instruction to learn about being able how to cook breakfast, and also understanding nutrition labels with specific products, and getting to really educate ourselves about that. And then in high school, we did have one home ec requirement, and you had to take at least one course 3 or 4 years. Students would do similar courses like you would have with a craftsmanship like sewing or upholstery, but I fortunately lucked into the course titled Personal Issues. And of all things, our teacher really just had us watch a lot of, shows like Degrassi, or even like after school specials that would bring up specific issues and then discuss them in the class. So a perfect setting for somebody who loved these teen melodramas like myself.
John, when did you graduate high school again?
1998.
Okay, so yeah, you had more of the TV special era. We had more of the direct to VHS movie specials, like basically called Odd Girl Out. We also had that movie 13, where one girl and there was one more. Bang Bang You're Dead.
Wow. Yeah, I remember when 13 came out in theaters and the controversy around that for using, portraying. It was almost like the euphoria of its time for wait, we're showing high schoolers or doing these things. Is this like over the top? So I can imagine the people who are reacting to that seeing euphoria in these days.
Oh yeah, and The Breakfast Club, that was one as well.
Yeah, Breakfast Club, which will obviously have echoes of in a future Degrassi episode featuring Hazel.
Yeah, we had to get our permission slips too by
really
parents. Yeah, that was still a thing. Just because it was rated R content.
Yep. Yeah, 17 up. So yeah, I have to give that approval.
Yeah, we were only 15 years old, so yeah. I mean, they had no problems with it. So I don't think Mr. Simpson was asking for permission slips in media immersion class here at Degrassi. No, he was not. Hazel.
But how about the fact, Rooney? Also, let's think about this. Is this the first time we've seen Mr. Simpson teaching the older kids? I feel like we've always seen him with the younger group, and now we have him, like giving out that closing the class with Hazel and Ashley and everybody in the room. It feels like we've usually seen Miss Sauvé in that role.
Yeah, because I feel like Mr. Simpson was only going to teach the seventh graders, and they were gonna move on. But then, like going back to season 2, it's the whole room just like went to one big like community school.
Yep. So yeah, but it was cool to get like some what feels like, and I'd have to go back and see, but this feels like really our first interaction with Mr. Simpson and this class of students.
Yeah, because like I remember just one time Paige had a question with him about like just the band that Mr. Simpson was in when they were doing the PMS Paige
okay.
and the Sex Games. So we've had interactions, just not full classes with the ninth graders here.
Got it. Well, these guys aren't going to be making any like e-cards for Mr. Simpson, I hope. So
no. It's so weird, like hearing like ninth graders, because again, it's like last year they were the 8th graders.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to remember they're in 9th grade now. So Hazel and Paige are in the hallway. Paige wants to know why Hazel isn't taking Heritage Day seriously, and she says she doesn't want to be labeled. Paige says just bring in jerk chicken. After all, you are Jamaican. Hazel just goes, yep. Like just being so silent with it. Paige over here just thinking that every black girl is Jamaican or African American girl is Jamaican or they're from Africa.
Yeah, probably coded a bit in that Paige's kind of ignorance in that way, but also like really well played by Hazel here with that kind of confusion and also again, insecurity over her heritage. And now, you can see it register in her face of possibly like, okay, this could be an out for her.
Yeah, because we see where she goes after school as well. It was like, oh, great idea. Yep, I'm Jamaican and here's my jerk chicken.
Yep, exactly.
Liberty and JT are outside in the hallways. Liberty asks JT to help with her sewing project. JT says, not my problem. But Liberty blackmails JT and says she will tell the guys he's the next Martha Stewart, and JT obliges to help Liberty here.
Yeah, probably the worst aspect of this episode that's aged the worst is a bit of the kind of like gay panic in us that's associated with JT being good at sewing. We had Sean and them being like, oh, gay T, or some of their heckles directed towards him when they first saw that he was somewhat skilled at this. And now, obviously it's leading to, similar to Hazel's insecurity about her heritage, JT's reluctance to, be forward about the fact that he, is good with this trade and, has somewhat of a flair for design.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's the next scene where he says, "Oh, my mom's a seamstress," so we're not there yet. That's right. It's the next scene. Hazel then goes to a Jamaican food place at the mall and asks her friend Wayne for a tray of jerk chicken. Hazel says it's for a project, and Wayne says she's not from Jamaica. Hazel says she wants to visit there, and Wayne gives her a deal on the tray.
Yeah, hey, listen, butt out, Wayne. Like, she didn't say the project was about where she's from. Like, what's he doing making these leaps here? She's offering to buy, jerk chicken for 50 people here. So let's be a bit happier with the business there. But no, very, very, very obviously friendly interaction here, and Hazel really kind of formulating this new plan that's going to be able to kind of skate through Heritage Day without kind of the recognition of her own heritage, and still shining in Paige's eyes, I guess, since Paige had put on that expectation of, oh, you are Jamaican. So you can see her already getting ready to Rastafarize in a little ways.
Yep. Yeah, the next day, everyone is in the gym for International Day. Spinner gives Mr. Simpson his Polish sausages. Mr. Radich reluctantly compliments Paige on her Ukrainian outfit, and eats her pierogies too.
Yeah, Heritage Day, and I deal with this with students now working on college essays. When we're asked about, how will you contribute to the community, it feels like food is almost always the first thing that they'll leap to. I can teach students about making spring rolls, Vietnamese spring rolls. It seems that students here at Degrassi didn't miss that beat, and most of their displays were going to include some sort of food from the heritage, not just fashion or music or other family traditions. But hey, food is definitely a great way to communicate that. I loved that Spinner, of all people, was really kind of into this and embracing the real multicultural background of his family, including honoring his adopted sister Kendra with, as I think there were water chestnuts that he added into his recipe that Mr. Simpson very quickly put down when realizing maybe the best care in food prep wasn't exactly put in here by our now blonde Spinner.
Mm-hmm. Then we get Mr. Simpson eating Hazel's jerk chicken and says it's delicious. She says it's her mother's recipe, and Mr. Simpson replies, I go to this Jamaican place in the mall. They have a great jerk chicken as well. And Hazel's like, oh, yeah, but, my mother cooks it right from the oven.
If only we had Hazel kind of sliding away or trying to hide the napkins with the restaurant's logo on them or something, that could have really really been a nice bumper to this. But yeah, she's navigating this as best she can. Obviously a bit of that bit of deception and unease, though, played by Hazel once again really nicely, as we can see. This is an effort of hers to kind of fit in and avoid maybe what she fears would be some more difficult conversations.
Yep. Hazel looks up and the Muslim girl is staring at her. Outside, the Muslim girl calls out Hazel's last name, Auden, and says Hazel is Somalian. Hazel tells her to back off before Jamaica invades Iraq. So Hazel dishing out some low blows here.
Yeah, and we'd be remiss, let's not just simply refer to Fariza as the Muslim girl, but Fariza is our character here who, yes, has done her display on her country of Iraq, and that is obviously a bit more rooted in that Muslim faith being demonstrated here. And yeah, I think Hazel's comment of, oh yeah, well, don't let Jamaica invade Iraq is on point for her, but also just another sign of that kind of insecurity.
Mm-hmm. Liberty and JT are in a sewing room, and JT is sewing the next project while Liberty is actually on lookout duty. Liberty asks why he hates sewing or why he likes sewing as well. He says his mom is a seamstress, and Liberty wants to know why guys think sewing is weird. And JT's like, because it just is.
This is one of my absolute favorite scenes in this episode, and upon revisiting it, it really showed these characters entering into that conversation of, hey, why shouldn't you be able to, celebrate or embrace that this is something you enjoy or that you're good at. And the way JT kind of just is effortlessly like navigating the sewing and even teaching Liberty about like how to, cut and tear the fabric, shows that he really does have this knowledge of it. Again, like just really, really pushing this character to a different level than we've seen of him before, of being this kind of goofball who doesn't take anything seriously. But, to give him some more real identity, which is what this episode in effect is really about.
Yeah, and we have more on JT's parents' background as well.
Mm-hmm.
John, another thing that I wanted to bring up, like, not that it really has to do with racism, but it has to do with looking down upon others, the squeegee kids. So when Liberty was like, my dad's friends with the mayor, and he's going to get the squeegee kids kicked out of the country here. And Emma's like, well, these kids do need to work, Liberty, and, they have to survive.
Yeah, they're the kind of inequality or social norms and that are displayed in Degrassi sometimes do really pit that difference in poverty levels, or just like even like between middle class and whatnot, to show how even students who aren't exactly from wealthy families or whatnot can look down on those who are just trying to make ends meet. There's but that also comes from just I don't know, the sense of either inherited prejudices or just a lack of kind of understanding on students' behalf, and just the naivete of being middle schoolers at this point. And I think it's really genuine. Just as there's a real genuine, concern there's a genuineness in the concern that JT has over, oh my goodness, what are guys going to think about me if I'm good at cooking or sewing or something. So, I think those aspects are things that about the teenage experience and the middle school experience that Degrassi does really well, and is, again, just a strength of this episode that I think sometimes gets overlooked.
Mm-hmm. Spinner, Hazel, Jimmy, and Paige are walking back to get their presentations, because now it's the second half of the day for International Day, when they see that Farice's project got vandalized with the word terrorist on it. The police are speaking to Farice, and Simpson says a hate crime was committed. Terry says none of them would do such a thing. Ashley calls out Terry for asking if they were bald. Ashley says just because Farice is from Iraq does not make her a terrorist. Spinner says people are scared because of the war. Jimmy stops him by saying his neighbor's bank account got frozen because his name is Osama. Each of the classes are giving their opinions on the matter. Like, even like Toby was like, oh, my great grandparents were Jewish, and look what happened there. So a lot of back and forth between students and the classes here, John.
I loved the stylistic choice, made by the directors and writers here, of being able to, bounce between the classes and show those conversations being had, and how they were kind of treated as really open discussions between students, exchanging ideas that sometimes aren't exactly popular, and ones that could be grounded in just again, like existing prejudices and whatnot, but also showed a level of understanding that some of them are gaining from their own experiences, like Jimmy, being able to speak to his neighbor's own, troubles with just based off his name, or, Spinner's like immediate, like jumping to conclusions that was similar to what we saw from Terry and others before of if it's Muslim, it means terrorist, right? And this is another just really, really strong point in this episode, and one that, enters into that discussion of race and identity that I wish some of future episodes, or that could have been featured a bit more strongly, as opposed to just like a one-off in these episodes, to show more of the ongoing challenges some of these students might face and how they rise to them.
Yeah, I liked how Toby said about him coming from a Jewish background and what happened in World War II. Spinner to me felt like the typical answer from Spinner as like the jock bully type here, and Jimmy trying to be like the sentimental one. Ashley, I thought, was doing a great job, like just sticking up for Faris here, as Terry is just going off about nobody would do such a thing.
Yeah, and I think it's a real moment that, in Terry's comments of, well, none of us have that kind of feeling, that kind of hate. It calls to mind that students need to look, just because you personally don't, doesn't mean it's not present in family, in friends, in your community. And is it enough for you to just hold to your own belief, or should you be doing something and advocating to ensure that others can let go of those prejudices and move past them? And I think that's kind of the stark reality that these students face is, hey, I'm not racist. Well, that doesn't mean that racism isn't in your school, in your community, and just not being racist is not necessarily enough.
Mr. Radich wants to see Hazel in his office. Fariza.
Oh, hey, let's pause right there, Grudy. What, Mr. Radich, once again, with just the worst subtlety, the worst tact in how he enters the classroom with these things. We saw earlier when he was like, Miss Sauvé is away on personal issues because like people in her family are dying, or she's battling depression, like in front of the class. And then here is like, I need to talk to Hazel like directly as we're investigating this hate crime. Like, Mr. Radich, come on, like let's be a bit more subtle, right?
Yeah, and be like more private about things.
A bit more professional.
He's just gonna get worse, especially when it comes to season 4 and what happens there as well. It involves Rick. You'll understand, John. Okay. Fariza accuses Hazel of writing terrorist. Hazel denies it, but Radich asks her about the things she has said about Fariza. The police did catch the students responsible, but Radich tells Hazel that words hurt. So they're going back to when she called Fariza a terrorist sheep, and then she said Jamaica will invade Iraq, and then all of a sudden, no one that we know, just two random no-name kids who are sophomores. We don't even know what a sophomore looks like in Degrassi High, said they did it.
Yeah, so, I think the part that's really hitting home here is Radich, for all his bluster before and his missteps, being able to hammer home to Hazel that, yeah, you may not have been the one who perpetrated these actions of, spray painting terrorists and doing so, but in your own words before of classifying this fashion as terrorist chic, or as portraying this idea of Islam, paired with terrorism, you're perpetuating that idea, and it's like almost giving clearance to such acts of hate. So you need to be as we always say, like being more impeccable with your words and, mindful of the things you say.
Mm-hmm. And I also liked how, while Terry was right that none of them did it, that there still is hate. At least it wasn't like one of the main cast members. Like it wasn't Spinner or it wasn't like Sean or anybody who comes from like a rough background that did this here.
Mm-hmm. We get a different group of 10th grade. But at the same time, it comes from that community. And the idea is if you're, perpetuating this with just comments like Hazel made, you're almost giving approval to such behavior or giving that understanding that something like that might be okay. Like, where does it stop? It's a slippery slope argument, but at the same time, one that, needs to be addressed.
Mm-hmm. Emma can't believe something like this would happen, while JT says her presentation won't be popular. Toby says she shouldn't have to hide who she is. Liberty tells JT not to hide that he is a sewer and he has talent, but then JT's like, no, I'm fine with hiding it. Liberty then shows her skirt. Liberty tells the class JT sewed the skirt together, and the guys rag on him. So Liberty comes clean, but then again, Sean and Toby still rag on him, John.
Yeah, but, again, this is that great parallel to what we're seeing with Hazel of, a character kind of coming to grips and accepting those aspects of his identity, even if he's kind of being forced into it. Liberty pointing out all the positives that are associated with his talent and not wanting to, encouraging him not to sit in denial of it. Yes, it carries some negative response at first from his male peers, but as we'll eventually see here, now there is a positive ultimately for him, and he can feel more comfortable with that, and hopefully we see similar growth with Hazel here as we move forward.
Mm-hmm. Hazel talks to Fariza and knows how hard it is to be Muslim. Hazel comes clean that she's Somalian and says she got beat up for being Somalian at her old school before transferring to Degrassi. Toby and Sean start to make fun of JT, but Emma asks if JT will make them skirts just like Liberty's, and they even say, we will pay you to make them, as Manny and the rest of the girls line up here. So Hazel finally comes clean that she is Somalian, and she's starting to open up about her past as well, how she got beat up, and JT scoring with the ladies.
Yeah, really nice bit from Hazel here as we get that backstory that can kind of help us understand why she's been so kind of protective of her family life and their beliefs, even around her best friend. We can, it's completely understandable that something that had brought, real hate and even like physical violence to her in the past is something she wouldn't be so eager to share about moving forward. But the kind of guilt associated with with kind of joining in that crowd weighs on her, and she can really admire Fariza for being somebody who has much more of a personal connection and pride in her background. That's really triggering to Hazel now, hopefully as we'll see with her own presentation. And JT now kind of reaping the benefits of embracing his talent and of accepting that in his getting the attention from the girls who want to work with him and have him design some clothes for them is a really, really nice touch, almost parallel to Terry making money as a model, and now JT finding success in something that he was somewhat ashamed of. We're seeing a lot of that kind of positive, positive growth and, just consequences of being able to fully accept and be yourself, as opposed to trying to fit into somebody else's narrative. And I think that's a great part of this episode.
Mm-hmm. Hazel then does her presentation showing her true colors as a Muslim, saying she's not ashamed of her heritage anymore. And that is where our episode ends.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts of this presentation is in, it leads to some questions from the class that are, genuine questions that I would imagine 8th or 9th graders to have. Like, oh, how come Fariza wears that headscarf thingy? Like, what's that about? And you don't. Like, don't all Muslims do that? And Hazel explains it and says, yeah, it's like, it is something that I wear when at religious services, but, being able to take it on full time is something that's of a real personal choice and commitment. And, that's to be respected, not something to be mocked or feared or targeted of just abuse like it has been. So it really shows a level of respect for her heritage and also the way others embrace theirs. So a real, just amazingly positive Hazel episode here. And I wish it leaves me at least wondering like why we didn't do more with this character.
Yeah, I agree, because like she really goes back to the sidekick character, but I mean she will have a little bit of a role with relationships as she gets sort of with Jimmy here as well, on and off. So we'll have to see where everyone's characters go from here, especially Hazel's, because this is like a whole Hazel type episode, obviously, and does she get more airtime as her fellow cast members do, or characters do?
A Hazel episode, but also just an episode about identity again, and about about being accepting of others and open-minded, and also like true to oneself. And I think that the fact that they chose characters like Hazel and JT to tell this story makes it more powerful, as it's giving real depth and real sympathy with those particular characters, and as their struggles become clear and also really relatable. I think for as maligned as this episode is by fandom and even just like casual observers of the show, I think just revisiting it, I really enjoyed this, like far more than I had anticipated I would.
Yeah, I liked it too. It was a good episode, like you said, about finding identity and everything. And there are a lot of
teen shows, throughout time, whether it's 90210, Saved by the Bell, Degrassi, Dawson's, any of these shows that come that try to tackle ideas of race and identity in that way, and prejudices. And whereas I think the original Degrassi Junior High and Degrassi High did a really nice job with this, it's one of the shortcomings of the next generation. Our characters of color are primarily sidekick characters, or are presented more so as characters of somewhat privilege. Like Jimmy's parents are both very successful, where and we never see his kind of like dealing with racial identity in that way. It's not until really later seasons that we get a bit of that from the characters of color. But I think this was really this version of the show's best effort towards it.
Yeah, it is. MVP, John, who did you have?
I think it's pretty obvious from my conversation so far, and just that it would be, Hazel here. If you read interviews with the actress, she even feels a bit disappointed that they hadn't done much more with her character after this. But, as she kind of fades into the background outside of a couple of relationships here and there, but really strong performance from our actress here. As I'm blanking on her name, I apologize. But from Hazel in registering some of that confusion and even shame and guilt throughout, and also that real kind of sense of pride and humility that comes at the end. I think this is somebody who has been kind of living a bit of a lie and hiding who she truly was from even her best friend in Paige up to this point. And this is going to allow her to be more vocal and more of a main player here. It was really a coming out for Hazel, and I think she knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, I would also give it to Hazel, just for like the whole trying to identify like who I am and stuff. I also would have put JT up for a nomination as well.
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
He as well is trying to find who he is, and JT is starting to grow up. Like you said, he's not the class clown anymore. He's maturing and trying to figure out who he is as well. But Hazel with the runaway here, being scared of who she is to finally confronting her fears and letting people know who she finally is here. Mm-hmm. LVP, John, I was going to give it to Spinner because of the typical jock answer, but I'm actually going to give LVP to Terry because it is not in her nature to come have a comment like that of, oh, are they bald under there?
Yeah, Terry with a wonderful, blissfully ignorant comment to open the episode really felt kind of out of character for her. Why not the 10th graders who vandalized the exhibit? They definitely weren't showing their best colors here, even though it was off screen. Me, I'm always trying to figure out a way to squeeze Toby into an LVP, but he didn't do much to offend in this episode, and actually kind of portray, added to the conversation a bit. I would say I would go with you on Terry, or even if it was Sean, maybe whoever floated out the gay tea comment, chunk them in there. Anybody who was on the wrong side of some of these comments could be lumped in there.
Yep. Well, that's going to do it from us here tonight discussing Degrassi. But John, do you have anything that you want to direct the listeners to?
Not that I've been working on per se, but I would tell everybody to check out the 1995 retrospective that's going on North-South Connection. What do we call it? 1995 or whatever. A lot of fun stuff to revisit from 30 years ago, whether it's films like Mallrats, The Sporting World, or even movies that the trips to the box office to really see what was going on in a pretty up and down year. It's been fun to listen to other members of the No-So community talking about those, and excited to see what comes in the next 3 months as we wind down that 30-year celebration.
Yep, and also check out 90210. So we're on the very back end of season 3. John, you and I, we both like to appear on that show as they are getting ready for Donna Martin to graduate, or so she thinks, as they just came off of the prom episode.
Yep. Yeah, something will be in the air in the next episode, as the gang has to gather together to hopefully help Donna get to that graduation stage with them, in a truly, truly memorable moment for all of us 90210 fans.
Yep. As for me, mostly you can find me on the Place to Be Nation wrestling feed. I have 2 podcasts over there. One is called Nation Invasion, where I look back on the invasion era of WWE in 2001. I am almost done with this project here, as me and Jeremy Nichols are looking back at the final weeks leading up to Survivor Series, November 18th, 2001 in Greensboro, North Carolina. We are looking back on Raw from November 5th and SmackDown November 8th, where the highly anticipated Rock versus Chris Jericho rematch for the WCW title is on the line. That match is happening, and Mr. McMahon drops a bombshell on the alliance that Stone Cold Steve Austin is joining the WWF at Survivor Series. That and much more. Also on the Place to Be Nation wrestling feed, I have Extreme Resurrection, where me and Steve Riddle, we look back on ECW on Sci-Fi from 2006 to 2010. We are on the cusp of WrestleMania 24, where there will be an ECW Battle Royal to determine who will be the number 1 contender for Chavo Guerrero's ECW title, which will also take place at WrestleMania 24. That and much more as well. Look for a new episode on that. And finally, on the Place to Be Nation pop feed, I was a guest on the new Making Mount Rushmore, where me and Steve Riddle, Amanda Berthold, and Andy Atherton, we discussed our favorite Disney movies and Pixar movies. Everybody had a different list, but some of us had the same movies as well. I think my list was a very good list, and also, so be on the lookout for that as that drops as well. From John Kesselika, I'm James Gruenberg, and we will see you next time.